Chapter 1. You're not broken. The system is. Hello, my friend. Let me ask you something. Have you studied English for many years? Have you memorized grammar rules, vocabulary lists, and sentence patterns? But still, you feel nervous when speaking? Still afraid to join a conversation with native speakers? Still thinking, maybe I'm not smart enough for English? Let me stop you right there. It's not your fault. You are not broken. Your brain is fine. The real problem is this. The system you followed is broken. Most schools teach English in the wrong way. They start with letters, grammar charts, and reading books. They test your memory, not your communication. They train you like a robot, not like a human. But think about this. How do babies learn a language? Do they sit at a desk with a grammar book? Do they read vocabulary cards? Of course not. That would be silly. Babies listen first. For months, they just listen. They hear their parents, their brothers and sisters, TV, music, life. Their brain absorbs the sounds. They don't understand everything, but the brain is learning deeply, naturally. Then one day, or the baby speaks. Simple words, short sentences, no grammar rules, just meaning, just feeling. Then only later, sometimes years later, the baby learns to read. Listening, speaking, reading. That's the natural order of learning. But schools do it backwards. Reading, writing, grammar, maybe speaking. It's not how the brain works. Imagine learning to swim by reading a book. Would you be ready to jump into a pool just because you memorized the theory? No, you'd sink. You need water, not paper. Same with English. You need sound. You need repetition. You need to hear the language again and again. That's how your brain builds real fluency. Let's go deeper. Why do schools teach the wrong way? Because it's easier to test reading and grammar. It's cheaper. One teacher, 30 students, all doing worksheets. But learning a language is not math. It's not about rules. It's about connection. So don't blame yourself if you still can't speak confidently. You're not lazy. You're not bad at languages. You just followed a broken map. It's time to throw away that map and start again. The natural way. Start with listening. Hear the rhythm, the melody, the sound of English. Shadow native speakers. Repeat like a child. Let the language enter your ears before your brain. The good news? You already know how to learn like this. You've done it once with your first language. You just forgot. But now you can remember. This podcast is your reminder. Every day, just listen. No pressure, no grammar, no stress. Trust the process. Trust your brain. You're not broken. The system is, but you can escape it. You already started right now. Chapter 2. How Babies Master Language. Let's take a moment to imagine something simple. A baby. A little baby who knows nothing. No words, no grammar, no writing. And yet, that baby becomes fluent in their language. Not in a year, but slowly, step by step. How? That's what we will explore now. When a baby is born, they don't open a book. They don't go to school. They don't take grammar tests. They simply listen. That's right. The first thing a baby does is listen. For months, they just hear voices. Mother, father, family, words like milk, mama, no, and yes. At first, the baby doesn't understand anything, but that's okay. There's no pressure. No one says, "Why don't you speak yet?" The baby just listens. All day, every day. That's hundreds of hours of input. No translation, no explanation. Only sound, only meaning. And then something magical happens. One day the baby says a word. Maybe mama, maybe ball. Just one word. Then a few days later, 2 words. Want juice? Big dog. And everyone smiles, claps, encourages. The baby feels happy. The baby feels confident. So they say more. Daddy, go work. I want cookie. This mine. Is it perfect grammar? Number, but is it communication? Yes, that is the key. Babies learn through listening and speaking, not writing, not reading, not memorizing verbs. Now let me ask you a question. How many hours have you just listened to English? Without fear, without pressure? How many hours did you spend with English audio? Not reading, not writing, just hearing the sounds? For most learners, the answer is not many. And that's the problem. In school, you are forced to learn grammar rules. You are told to memorize vocabulary lists. You are tested before your brain is even ready. That's not how humans learn language. That's how we learn facts, not feelings. But language is not math. Language is not history. Language is life. When babies learn, they learn from real life. They don't study past perfect or present continuous. They learn I want, I go, I did. They learn what they need. They learn with the body, with emotion, with context. They understand because they feel. Let's go back to the baby. The baby falls many times. They try to say something. It comes out wrong. Nobody laughs. Nobody says, your grammar is bad. Instead, parents smile. They understand what the baby means, and they answer. That's how the baby gets better. They are not afraid of mistakes. They are not judged. They just keep going. Every day, more listening, more speaking, more trying. That's real learning. But adult learners are afraid of mistakes, afraid of speaking, afraid of looking stupid, so they stay silent. But silence doesn't help. Grammar books don't help. Not in the beginning. You need massive input first, just like a baby. Many hours of simple, real English, spoken at your level, with emotion, with meaning. That is why this podcast exists, to give you that natural input, to let you feel like a baby again, in a good way. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to speak right now. Just listen, every day, and one day the words will come. Your brain will understand. You will speak, not because you studied harder, but because you learned smarter, like a baby. Chapter 3. Why reading and grammar? Come last, reading and writing are important. They help you understand more, think deeply, and express ideas clearly. But here's the truth. They are not the beginning of fluency. They come after listening and speaking. That's how your brain was designed to learn. Let's go back in time. Imagine a 1-year-old baby. That baby can't read. That baby doesn't know what grammar means. But somehow that baby understands when you say, do you want more milk? And one day the baby answers, more. Magic? No, it's just natural learning. Now let's talk about schools. In most classrooms, you start with reading the alphabet. Then you study rules. Don't forget the S. Past tense is ed. Use A before consonants and N before vowels. Your brain is now full of rules, but your mouth is silent. You're afraid to speak because you're thinking too much. And when you finally try to speak, you freeze. You know the words. You know the grammar. But still, your brain doesn't cooperate. Why? Because reading and grammar are slow. They use the logical part of the brain. They require focus, silence, and time. But conversation is fast. It uses the emotional brain. It needs rhythm, instinct, and feeling. You read a word like though and memorize its meaning. But the moment someone says it in a real sentence, you panic. You can't recognize it. Because reading words is not the same as hearing them with speed and emotion. Let's be clear. Grammar is not bad. Reading is not useless. But they are the wrong starting point. If you want to be fluent, you must learn in the right order. 1. Listen a lot. 2. Speak with confidence, even simple words. 3. Then add reading and grammar later to go deeper. This is how babies become fluent. This is how you became fluent in your first language. This is how you must approach English now. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be natural. You don't need more rules. You need more real input, sounds, feelings, moments. So next time you feel guilty for forgetting grammar, remember, even native speakers break grammar rules all the time. What they have is flow, not perfection. What they trust is instinct, not charts. And you can have that too, but only if you stop learning like a textbook and start learning like a human. You already know the better way. Now it's time to follow it. Chapter 4, The Order That Works, LSRW. Most people fail to learn English not because they're lazy or untalented, but because they follow the wrong order. Here's what school teaches you: reading, writing, grammar, vocabulary, maybe speaking, listening. But this is the opposite of how your brain is designed to learn language. Think about it. A baby doesn't learn by reading a book. She doesn't sit down to memorize grammar rules or write essays. She listens, she absorbs, she imitates, she speaks. That's how language is naturally acquired. And this is why the correct order is 1. Listening, 2. Speaking, 3. Reading, 4. Writing. This is called the LSRW method. And it works because it aligns with how your brain actually works. Step 1. Listening. Feed your brain. Before you do anything else, listen. Every single day. Not as a study habit, but as a lifestyle. You don't need to understand every word. You just need to hear the rhythm, the tones, the music of English. At first you'll feel lost, but your brain is silently working behind the scenes. It's building sound patterns. It's identifying stress and intonation. It's training your ear to recognize what English feels like. The more you listen, the more familiar it gets. It's like learning a song. You don't memorize lyrics with a textbook. You listen, hum, repeat, and then you know it. Step 2. Speaking, copy like a parrot. Once your brain starts recognizing the sounds, it's time to speak. Not from a textbook, not scripted, but by imitating what you hear. Repeat, copy, mimic, shadow. Use real sentences from real conversations. Don't worry about mistakes. That's how children learn too. Speaking activates your brain's memory in a deeper way. When you speak, you're not just recognizing English, you're producing it. That's when language becomes part of you. Step 3. Reading. Now make it visual. Reading should come after your brain is familiar with the sound of English. Why? Because otherwise you'll pronounce things in your native language's voice. Reading is powerful, but only when your ears already know how English sounds. If you skip to reading first, you risk building bad pronunciation habits. So read, but read what you've already listened to. Audiobooks plus text, podcast transcripts, shadowing scripts. That way, the sounds and the letters match in your mind. Step 4. Writing. The final layer. Writing is the last step, not because it's unimportant, but because it's the most advanced skill. You can't write well in English until you've listened, spoken, and read a lot. Writing requires output. It's like trying to build with Legos. You can't create until you have enough blocks. So don't rush to write essays or business emails. First, fill your mind with English. Then, Writing will come naturally, not painfully. Why this podcast matters. This is why listening to this podcast matters. Not to study, not to memorize, but to live in English, to let the rhythm enter your ears, to let your brain soak in the sound. Language is not something you learn, it's something you become. So press play, close your grammar book, and start listening like a child every day, because that's how real fluency begins. Chapter 5, Your Brain is Smarter Than You Think. Let me tell you something important, something that most schools and teachers will never say. Your brain is a genius. Yes, your brain, not someone else's, not just the brain of a native speaker, yours. It has the ability to learn any language in the world, not because you study hard, but because your brain is built to absorb sounds, patterns, and meaning naturally, just like it did when you were a baby. Think about it. Did you learn your first language with textbooks, with grammar rules, with long vocabulary lists? Number you learned it by hearing it, feeling it, repeating it again and again, without even realizing it. So why do we think we need to suffer through textbooks to learn English? Here's the truth. You don't need more rules. You don't need more worksheets. You don't need to memorize more verb charts. What you need is more exposure, more sound, more repetition, more real language. So here's what you do. Not tomorrow, not next week. Today, right now. Step 1. Listen every day, even when you don't understand everything. Especially when you don't understand everything. Why? Because your brain is always listening. It's working in the background, picking up rhythms, accents, tones, and one day, maybe in a week, maybe in a month, you'll suddenly recognize something, a word, a phrase, a feeling, and it will feel like magic, but it's not magic. It's your brain doing its job. Step 2, repeat what you hear. Don't just listen passively, mimic, copy. Say the words out loud, even if your pronunciation isn't perfect, especially if it isn't perfect. Because practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. Every time you speak, your brain and your mouth get better at working together. Step 3, talk to yourself in English. Yes, talk to yourself out loud. Say what you're doing. I'm making coffee. Say what you're thinking. I feel tired today. Say anything, even if it's simple, because you're creating a habit of thinking in English. And the more you think in English, the less you translate in your head. And the less you translate, the more fluently you speak. Step 4, shadow. This podcast, don't just listen, shadow. That means speak with me at the same time, like an echo. Yes, it's hard at first, but it's one of the most powerful tools you have. It trains your brain, your ears, your mouth, all at once. It's like going to the gym, but for your language muscles. Step 5, feel the sounds, don't analyze too much. Don't try to break down every sentence, just feel it. Let the sounds hit you. Let the rhythm move through you. Language is sound before it is grammar. It is music before it is rules. And your brain understands music better than you think. Little by little, your brain will notice patterns. It will connect pieces. You'll say something, and then realize, wow, I didn't even think about that sentence. It just came out. That's fluency. Fluency isn't knowing every word. It's not speaking like a native speaker. Fluency is feeling comfortable in the language. It's being able to express yourself without fear, without stopping, without overthinking. And here's the most beautiful part. You're already doing it. by listening to this podcast, by engaging, by repeating. You've already started. Your brain is already working. Even if you don't feel it yet, it's happening. So trust the process. Trust your brain. Keep going. Because fluency isn't just a dream. It's your destination. And every word you hear brings you closer.